Been.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Thank you also to the member for Cunningham, my friend Alison Burns MP, for her contribution. I know Alison is helping drive a skills revitalisation in her home patch of Wollongong, getting the training needed for the jobs of the future. And Alison follows a great member in the former member for Cunningham, Sharon Bird MP, a former minister for vocational education and one of the great champions of TAFE. Deputy Speaker, in Canberra, the heart of that vet skills revitalisation will be in my electorate of Bean, both in Phillip at our new TAFE precinct, as well as some of the industrial areas where some of the more interesting and innovative industry organisations are developing here in the Australian Capital Territory. But, Deputy Speaker, as the Minister noted in his statement to the House, we face challenges as a nation. OECD data identified Australia as having the second highest labour shortage amongst OECD countries. And the skills priority list shows that occupations in shortage nearly doubled from 2021 to 2022, jumping from 153 to 286 occupations. In March 2022, the former National Skills Commission predicted that over the next 5 years, 9 out of 10 new jobs would require post-school qualifications, with 4 out of 10 requiring vocational training. Deputy Speaker, this is the legacy we inherited. With that challenge outlined, I speak in support of the ministerial statement on revitalising national planning in vocational education and training, with some experience working with some of the most advanced technical workers in this country. Deputy Speaker, before I came to this place, I worked for Professionals Australia and represented and engaged with technicians, scientists and engineers in both of the public and private sectors. I worked closely with the Electrical Trades Union and the AMWU, two of the giant technical unions in this country, and understand quite well their commitment to skills development as well as everything else in the world of work. My organisation, Professionals Australia, was responsible for developing the first MBA program in Australia, and it's always been central to our ethos, that investment in both supporting undergraduate qualifications, but also then understanding the need to buttress that with additional training, both in the workplace and through institutions, both vet and university-based. And Deputy Speaker, one of the standouts for me was that quality skills or vet training drove quality in the workplace that was, in turn, good for their organisations. But what I saw over a decade was a drop-off in investment in qualifications in engineering and science, and at the same time I witnessed the almost complete loss of technical skills in and across workplaces, particularly in government departments. Rebuilding this capability, Deputy Speaker, is critical. The Albanese government gets this. If we are to meet the challenges of the future, think clean energy, defence industry, software and application programming, a greener transport fleet, natural disaster mitigation, agriculture production, high-skilled manufacturing, and making the utmost of our critical mineral reserves, then we must have the skilled workforce in place, and a workforce that combines both those technical and professional skills. Deputy Speaker, we were given a mandate to drive improvements in the vet sector, and Minister O'Connor has done a power of work laying down the foundations for that reform. Reforms that will ensure that national planning for the skills our economy needs is timely, high quality, evidence-based and tested for veracity against the first-hand knowledge of industry and all the key industry players. The establishment of Jobs and Skills Australia and the creation of 10 Jobs and Skill Councils are significant milestones in the skills and training portfolio. These are strategically linked to provide effective structured, national and sector-based planning frameworks and modern, timely skills development that is needed for Australia to be a more productive and prosperous nation. Jobs and Skills Australia and the Jobs and Skills Councils have industries and experts at the core of their governance and work programs. Jobs and Skills Australia has replaced the National Skills Commission. The Commission provided an important body of work, but was limited to a narrow mandate and was not structured or resourced for deeper engagement with industries and state and territory governments. A critical one that is central and baked into the design of Skills Australia is ensuring that impacted industries and knowledgeable stakeholders have a seat at the table. And Deputy Speaker, as I said before, 10 tripartite Jobs and Skills Councils have been now established. That's in energy, gas and renewables, agribusiness, early educators, health and human services, arts, personal services, retail, tourism and hospitality, public safety and government, manufacturing, finance, technology and business, mining and automotive, building, construction and property, and transport and logistics. These councils will work hand in glove with Jobs and Skills Australia, providing on-the-ground industry perspectives of the real economy. Skills Australia data and analysis will be integrated with the experiences of those running the businesses who are often the first to identify emerging trends. The councils will then lead workforce planning for their industries to identify immediate skill needs, as well as those needed in the future. They will both work directly with industry sectors on the planning and training required to address immediate, medium and long-term skill needs. But right at the heart of this is tripartism, employers, unions and governments working in cooperation. Deputy Speaker, as I said before, my experience in these sectors is the intense work that the unions put into skills development, whether it be licensing, whether it be in encouraging apprenticeships. As I said, my old organisation, the first actual MBA program in Australia. We've always been at the heart of the skills challenge. So creating improvements to address national skills requires more than the Commonwealth Government working in isolation or with a few select and favoured partners. We need to all work together. So, Deputy Speaker, it's worth mentioning here in support of this ministerial statement that this government has already been delivering on other areas in the skills challenge. We've taken a focus on increasing participation, both at the school and tertiary levels. We're rebuilding a sector wilfully neglected by the previous government, because we understand a strong vet sector is critical to nearly all of our key policy challenges. That's why the Albanese government is investing over $400 million to reform foundation skills programs through the redesigned Skills for Education and Employment program. And we also know that the skills challenge is even more acute for our First Nations Australians, with about 40% of adult Indigenous people having minimal English literacy. This figure can rise as high as 70% in remote communities. And for this reason, we've emphasised co-design and First Nations-led delivery in the government's plan for the future of foundation skills programs. By working in genuine partnership with our state and territory counterparts, our fee-free TAFE program is helping support key industries experiencing skill shortages. It's focused on areas of emerging growth while providing access to priority cohorts, including the most vulnerable in our communities. And the numbers have already spoken for themselves, Deputy Speaker. In the first 6 months, we exceeded our target for 180,000 enrolments, with almost 215,000 Australians enrolling in a fee-free course. 215,000 people accessing high-quality training in areas we need skilled workers. Demographic data shows this approach is making inroads supporting disadvantaged and in-need Australians, with enrolments including more than 50,000 job seekers, more than 15,000 people with disability and more than 6,000 First Nations Australians. And we're not stopping there, as we provide funding for a further 300,000 fee-free TAFE places starting next year. Put simply, the opportunities of fee-free study can change lives, but at the same time it will change our economy and help us address the key critical policy challenges that we face. Every member of our government knows the importance of jobs of the future, skills and training, and I thank the Minister again for the hard work of his team and, of course, the hard work of his department.